Vision, I'm Melanie. Thanks so much for clicking. To my returning family, the Visionaries, thank you for your continuous love and support. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Please feel at home. If you'd like to join the family, hit that subscribe button. And everyone, please don't forget to like and share. I notice with the elections coming up in 2024, there's a trend happening that happens every time before an election. This is where stories start to surface on media outlets to discredit political leaders and political parties. But not all political parties, just the ones that are a threat to certain campaigns. What I noticed as well is the media, journalists, are playing into the hands by sharing misinformation or sharing these stories in a very biased way. South Africa is no different. In fact, in the news recently, the deputy president of the EFF, there was a verdict that came up where he was found to have breached the code of conduct with the ethics committee for not disclosing some money that he received back in 2017. In this case, it's very straightforward, but I'm going to share with you how it's being muddied by the journalists because they're trying to tie it to the VBS case. And this gets very, very confusing for voters and for consumers of media. This is a slippery slope for journalists to be on, and we need to clarify it now. And I'm going to share with you two different videos with two different perspectives. The first one is where Treasurer General from the EFF is being interviewed. She's there to set the story straight. The facts. The deputy president claimed that he breached the ethics committee code of conduct because he did not disclose 180,000 South African rands in 2017. He did share an affidavit with the committee that he did not share these because these were loans, and members of parliament are only expected to disclose 1,500 South African rands in donations if they're received. So he didn't see the need to disclose because they were loans. There was also an affidavit from the private company where he received the loans from that was given to the committee. The committee shared that they didn't have other information to follow up on this. It was a limited scope because the FIC would not allow them to have any financial information. My question to that is, why didn't they come for more information from the member himself or from the private institute? They could have asked for proof that they were loans instead of donations. Either way, in this interview, the journalist asked questions and Treasurer General was very, very clear and concise of the wrongdoing. In fact, she called them out on spreading misinformation, trying to connect the VPS, because at no time did the committee tie the VPS to the deputy president.
Tonight on In Focus, you have Treasurer General Taddeo-Nxumalo is joining us now in studio for more reaction to that story. Good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on.
Good evening, Thabo. Good evening to the viewers of Newzone.
So, first and foremost, I've got to say it's very difficult to speak to this report because the committee members tell us that they are bound by secrecy, so they are not allowed to speak to the media about the committee's business. So we're not actually even quite sure what they were looking at that led them to this conclusion. Nonetheless, the conclusion is that the deputy leader of EFF, Floyd Shivambu, received three payments, 100,000, 30,000, and 50,000. What is the response from the EFF team?
No, thank you, Thabo. Firstly, let's correct the misinformation and false reporting by the likes of yourself and Taddeo-Nxumalo just now. All of you are saying the leader received money from VBS. It's not correct. And even the ethics committee itself came out and said that's not money from the VBS. The money is from a company, private company called Gameka, which is owned by obviously the brother of the deputy president of the EFF. But I want us to walk out of this room being very crystal clear that the money is not from VBS, like everybody has been falsely reporting. He's been cleared. The president of the EFF, together with the deputy president of the EFF, both of them, have been cleared that the money does not come from the VBS. That's one. Two, the ethics committee is disingenuous in their report because there is an affidavit that was taken under oath that says that this was loans that were given by Gameka to the deputy president of the EFF. They never asked the deputy president to produce bank statements that support that indeed the money was a loan. There was an affidavit that was deposed, by Zgameka. But so the chairperson of the committee earlier on when he was being interviewed in the morning, he says they went to the Financial Intelligence Center.
If I support them, we don't report to you.
No, but the question is, why would you go there? You are sitting here with a member of this house that is being, a complaint has been laid against. Why are you not asking him? So it doesn't matter how much I hate you. You have to be fair in your process. We know, even murderers, they are given an opportunity to respond themselves. But here, no, DP was never asked to respond. Instead, they go and ask other institutions of the information that DP would have easily produced. So you can see that really they were...
What is their interest in finding the Deputy President of the EFF guilty?
Thabo, it has been an issue from day one that they want to taint the name of the EFF. They want this VBS saga to be an EFF issue. From day one, I mean, currently as we speak, people are being prosecuted, people are being taken to court and all that. Others are already in jail. None of the leaders of the EFF are facing any of those things. I hear now the DA leader says is going to put pressure on the Hawks and the SIU. They've been investigating from as early as when this issue was reported. Nothing has been done so far to the leader of the EFF and to the Deputy President of the EFF. So there's nothing that links the EFF to VBS. And
so,
we must report fairly.
The Registrar of Members of Interest, Advocate Anthea Gordon, saying that the 180,000 is from Zgameka projects, as you put it, between the 18th of August to the 26th of August 2017. John Steyn is saying that, well, that money is related to the VBS scandal because, again, Polly van Wyk was on a little bit earlier today, and here's what she has to say on that. She says that the truth is that, in fact, let's just play the clip so that you can hear from her exactly what she has to say and why they're drawing the link between the two.
The truth is the truth, and that will not change. The money flows had come from VBS-linked companies to Zgameka, which was managed by Brian Shivambu, but the ultimate beneficiaries were Mahuna Investments and Grand Azania, which each of those were the front companies for Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu, and I proved it in numerous ways in terms of tracking who the properties are owned by, who the cars are owned by, and the cards, the bank cards linked to those accounts, followed Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu right around the country. It means that the beneficial owners of the money was Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu. No one else. Very few, like 100,000 or so, went to Brian Shivambu that I could trace. So very few of the millions that they stole went to anyone else. So they can call me what they want. They should take me to court rather, and let's fight it out in an open court where all of us can bring our evidence and see who then comes out on top. Because that they haven't dared to do. They haven't dared to take me to court.
It's one investigative journalist who's created that link. The DA seems to believe that is certainly linked in such a manner.
You know, the Chief Justice, Polly van Wyk, if she says she claims she's got evidence, why is she not giving it to the Hawks? She's actually defeating the hands of justice because she's got evidence that links the Deputy President and the President of the EFF to this, and she's keeping it. Instead, she's talking to you. Why is she not handing it over to the Hawks and the police and the SIU? So she is actually defeating the hands of justice. She must be arrested. We won't waste our time with nobody's tab. We are busy. I'm coming from Mpumalanga there to do Umuntu Mtwini. That's our campaign. 2024 is going to be our 1994. We don't have time for useless people like Polly. Who's Polly after all? But what is more painful, and the message that we want to draw to South Africans is, especially blacks in particular, is that according to Polly and all of them, John Steyn and all of them, it means a black person can't do business. The Zgameka was a business. It had projects that it was doing. It got paid. The money that went into Zgameka, it was not only from VBS, as loan from VBS. They were doing other work outside the VBS loans that they received. So the money that is being talked about now is as if Zgameka only received money from the VBS bank. That's not correct. So Brian Shivambu was almost 29 years at the time. He has got every right to trade and do business in this country. He's an African child, and Polly van Wyk and them must not think that only white people can own businesses in this country. We also deserve to own businesses in this country. So that is what is more painful, is because they don't see us as people who can actually do business and succeed in business. Yeah. They must always link us to being thieves and stealing money and all that. But I'm saying, at the end of it, Thabo, we're not going to take Polly van Wyk to court. We don't have time for that. Yeah. She's got evidence. She must be asked, why is she withholding that evidence? Because then it means she's defeating the of justice.
But you
but
are
the
taking
bottom line,
committee, well, at least the deputy president saying he's taking this report.
We're encouraging him to do that. We're encouraging him to do that because despite numerous times where he said the money was a loan, there's no law in Parliament or any rule or nothing that says that you must disclose your loans. You must disclose your loans. This is a loan. If there's any dispute, the creditor and the debtor, they're here. Yeah. The debtor is Floyd Shivambo. The creditor is Gameka.
So
why are the two parties not being called?
They're saying he didn't declare these payments, according to them, at all.
They are not declarable because it's a loan, it's not a donation. In Parliament, you declare what is a donation. Anything that is above 1,500 rand in the form of a donation. But a loan, you are not obliged by anything. There's no law. They must show us the rule in Parliament that says the loans must be disclosed. There's no law in the country. There's no law anywhere in South Africa, including in Parliament, that says that the loans must be disclosed. And that is why the Deputy President saw no need to disclose a loan. No one disclosed. I've got loans myself. John Steenhuisen, he's got loans himself. He's not obliged to disclose them. No one is obliged to disclose them by Parliament. If there is such a rule, they must bring it forward and say, we're charging the DP because he did not disclose a loan. Until then, there's nothing to speak about.
Of course, the political parties saying that a transgression obviously was committed according to the committee, and hence the sanction. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a sanction if there was no transgression.
So, we must not, and it happened also with Advocate Busio Mkoba, where rules were ignored, and because people wanted to rush to a certain conclusion. We must never accept that as South Africa, because we're setting a wrong precedent, which will affect this country very negatively. There is a complaint about you, Thabo. You must be afforded an opportunity to give us your side of the story. When you give your side of the story, people say, no, that's not true. Your side is not true. But they can't prove that it's not true, despite the fact that you have proven yourself that it is true. The complaint is that the DP did not disclose the money. DP comes and says, but there's no need for me to declare because this is a loan. The committee says, no, it was not a loan. Based on what? How did they arrive at that conclusion?
So they don't give you that? As the member of parliament, they say to you, no, it was not a loan, it was a donation. They didn't give the deputy president of EFF why they reached that, because of course we are not privy to that, but he's the person directly involved. They should at least afford him that kind of explanation.
They ignored that, Thabo. I'm saying if DP's version is that there is a loan, which is a correct version, the least they could have done is not to go to FIC, is to go to the lender and say to the lender, did you borrow Mr. Shivambo money? The lender, you post an affidavit that says, I lended the borrower this amount of money. Why is the committee disputing that? On what basis is the committee disputing that?
Yeah, that's the question I'm asking. On what basis? Did they not provide the basis?
No, they did not. They did not provide the basis. Nothing. They ignored all that evidence. They ignored the affidavit of Gameka. They ignored the affidavit of the deputy president that says, I borrowed money. Gameka lended me the money. Gameka, did you lend Deputy President Fresh Shivambo money? Yes. Case closed. They did not do that. The facts are there on the table, Thabo. They ignored the fact because they want to run with a narrative that says DP received money. And even worse now, they want to link it to VBS. Because why? They want this VBS thing to be on EFF's name. It's not correct. And we must not accept that. The laws of this country must not be ignored. The rules must not be ignored. The facts must not be ignored. Let's play the ball and not the man.
Yeah. suppose we can't then even begin to speak about the leniency of the sanction at this particular point, because you are completely rejecting the sanction itself and in fact the whole entire process, because now the late comment is that, well, it was a slap in the wrist.
There's nothing, Thabo, that DP did, honestly, and the committee should actually be ashamed of themselves, wanting to pin something that doesn't exist. If DP takes this thing to court, they're going to be ashamed, and they must really be punished for that, for misleading the country and misleading everybody else. Because why did they ignore the fact that there's a loan when there's proof that there was a loan? They've never asked Gameka to come and explain himself. They've not asked DP to explain himself except through writing, which he did. And even with that, they still ignored, because they wanted to have a different outcome. Yeah. So there's nothing to talk about. There's no sanction of anything. We're rejecting that report, and we're encouraging the Deputy President to take them to court.
In fact, they clearly outlined that Julius Malema, the EFF, had no connection to VPS. There was no proof. What I laughed, though, the journalist was very clever. When he wasn't getting what he wanted from the interviewee, he started to change the topic and get away from what they were talking about.
Who else you're encouraging to take the report to court after the Section 194 process, which you were part of, is the public protector. But I'm not talking about that now. Now I'm talking about the gratuity, the 10 million that she is supposed to be getting.
But the Treasurer General stood her firm ground and clearly outlined what was going on and her perspective, and the perspective of the EFF. In the other interview, it was a little bit different. The journalist was very biased. In fact, starting the interview right off by saying in the headline that the Deputy President was found guilty of using money that was received from the VPS.
Has found that Economic Freedom Fighters Deputy President Floyd Shivambu guilty of violating the Code of Ethical Conduct by not declaring payments he received from the defunct VBS Mutual Bank. Shivambu will have 9 days of his salary docked as a result. And joining me for this discussion now is the chairperson of the Joint Committee on Ethics and Members' Interests, Bheki Nkosi, and alongside him is political analyst Dr. Levindo.
Wrong. There's no proof of this at all. He was interviewing the chairperson from the Ethics Committee and a professor. The chairperson outlined clearly that there was money not disclosed and that there was no connection to VPS, but not in so many words. He talked about the limited scope, as well as he spoke very clearly and concisely there was no connection with Julius Malema or the EFF.
What appeared before us and what we found were those amounts which were not declared by the member in his disclosures for 2017. We didn't find any other amount undeclared for the following reasons. When we did our investigations and our research on this issue, we had to go via the FIC to allow them to provide us with financial intelligence, which would have allowed us to check if there is any other amount. But the FIC indicated that Parliament is not a reporting structure in terms of Section 40, and therefore they are not in a position to share their intelligence, finance intelligence with us.
Yeah.
Upon legal advice, we then stopped that. At the time, the information we had before us was that he had not declared 180,000 rands. Secondly, all other matters related to this issue are outside of our purview as the Ethics Committee and are being investigated, I believe, by other law enforcement agencies like the SIU and whatever.
Okay, all right. And just quickly on the back of that, do you believe that your investigations went far enough? And I ask you that because part of your statement says that the investigation was, quote unquote, inconclusive.
We went as far as our code of conduct allows us. Remember that with us, the concentration is basically on whether monies received by the member were declared. So when we checked in terms of the complaint, there was an allegation that there were millions that were deposited. However, because we didn't have access to and were not allowed to access his other or bank accounts, we couldn't really do something that was outside of our code. So we stopped at the point where we checked whether this 180,000 that reflects from Scamera and Azania was declared. That's our remit, and we stopped there. Had there been any other issue, we would have followed it, but we don't have those powers in terms of the FICM.
But when the interviewee finished, the interviewer went to the professor and asked a very leading question, once again indicating what is his thoughts about the EFF leader being found guilty by taking money that was looted from the VPS. Wrong again. Why is he misleading these interviewees? Clearly he had an agenda. He wanted to get this conversation going to what he wanted to accomplish.
All right, Dr. Ndo, let's bring you into the conversation. A parliamentary verdict which says that an EFF leader has benefited from the looting of the VBS Bank, whose victims were poor elderly residents of Limpopo. How damaging is that image for the party?
Good morning, colleague. Good morning, Honorable Ngosi and the viewers at home. Well, I think that would be quite damaging. Every political party would love to ensure that they keep their integrity intact, and at the same time, they need leaders who have to lead by example. Every political party would not love to have their leaders who are tainted, who would actually bring a negativity onto the party. So, of course, this should be a matter of serious concern by the EFF, and one would expect that the EFF has to come out very strong on wrongdoing amongst its members. But whether we like it or not, it is within the rights of the EFF or within their own space to decide on what appropriate action they have to take. Parliament has actually done its part, and what most people would be expecting would be to see what then would be the step that the EFF would have to take.
Where does this journalist have any proof of this? And why does he have this perspective? Well, because there's a lot of other sides of stories going on in the background that people are being misled. But what I want to really stress here is there's always his side, her side, somewhere in between is the truth and all the stories. Polly is another journalist that has been very active on this case since 2017, claiming she has proof of the connection between VPS. She has been trying to prove this for years. My question to Polly is this. As a journalist, if you have all of this evidence that can clearly tie the leaders of the EFF to the VBS looting, then you need to turn them over to the SIU and to the Hawks, who are still investigating this. The fact that Julius Malema and the Deputy President have not been charged shows that there's no evidence. Now, Julius Malema has also stood very, very sternly on the fact there's no connection between VPS. Let's take a listen to what he said.
There is nothing like that. She wrote about that even before. My brother's company got money from Scamega, not from VPS. She says that herself. And there is no single cent that my brother got from VPS. But she repeatedly writes that nonsense. And people say now, hey, there is new evidence. There's no new evidence. He says Malema is using this company for all his benefits. When Malema was in Durban, he slept in this hotel. I don't know the hotel. I've never been to that hotel. When Malema came back from Durban July, he bought Nando's at Watward Garage. He was driving back to Joburg. Yes, I don't drive to Durban, I fly. Check your facts. So, they say my brother paid 500,000 at Durban July buying alcohol. Let me explain to you. My brother, every Durban July, they buy a marquee. They do decorations and then sell tickets, what we call corporate tickets, at 70,000 each. They make business in Durban July. So they pay 500, they make more than that. But when they write about it in the papers, it's as if they were drinking 500,000. They bought a marquee, it's called Opulence Marquee. And then they sell tickets. And that's how they make money. It's an investment. Anyone who buys a ticket, buys alcohol inside, buys food inside, that's how they make money. She says, yeah, this company is not making business with government to show that it's not a real company. When my cousins make business with government, they say it's corruption. It's Malema who's giving them tenders. When they don't do tenders and go and try business outside government, this is not a real company. Why is it not doing business with government? There is nothing like that. Let's take one example in Polifan Veki's statement. He says, my brother gave Major League Gardens 500,000. They were doing a festival in Joburg. The same Polifan Vek confesses in this question sent to Major League Gardens that we see they gave you 500,000, you took it back as 600,000. That's how business is done. My brother invested in it to make money. He didn't lose money. He put 500,000, he got 600,000. That's how business works. It's an investment. No, it's Malema. Malema. There is nothing now. Every Malema, including those who don't know me, by the way, Malema say name is too big. When they try to open a bank account, they refuse them. They are being harassed where they work because people think that they are my relatives. Even when they have nothing to do with me, they are being punished for being the Malemas. But they are not scared. They know, they appreciate that it is part of the struggle we are confronted with. There is nothing that Polifan Vey can say, everyone, which will shake us. There is nothing that the EFF has done illegally. Anyone who wants the VBS money, you are barking at the wrong door. The ANC has got the money of the VBS. That's why you must go and get the money.
Wow. See, there's so many different perspectives and so much information. No wonder the consumers of media and the voters can be very, very confused. This is why it's essential that the journalists speak clearly, concisely, and factual whenever they're interviewing anyone on a story that's related to politics. They can't be guided by any misinformation or bias that they may have, or anybody that's trying to sway the audience. That could be a politician, it could be a political party, or it could be the broadcaster themselves. It is essential that we stand firm. If you look at the United States and what happened with Donald Trump, he kept saying over and over again that he had won the election, and we know that's fictitious, it's false, but yet the media played into that, putting it out there, so much so that so many people believed the truth to it that they attacked the Capitol on January 6th. The power of media is very, very strong, and in social media and in the internet, it will be out there forever. So as consumers of media and as voters, we need to do our due diligence, we need to do our own research, and we need to listen to the truth, the facts, and not be swayed by any bias of any journalist. I encourage journalists to remember your oath, to tell the truth, to always share information that's factual, to hear all sides of the story and present them with an unbiased way. The big challenge that we have to be very mindful of is once the consumers of media are listening to what's heard, it gets put in their mind. It will sway them. They may act rash, whether it's at the voting station, or by taking action in a different way, protests, rallies, or even something more serious. Please, we have responsibility as journalists to ensure that the people on the ground are receiving truthful information, that they're not being confused by all the misinformation, the talk, the drama, and the lies. It's essential for us to do our job. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas on both of these videos, all of the information I've shared, and if you've seen any of this happening in the news where you are. Drop your comments below and let's have a conversation. Also, please don't forget to hit that notification button, like and share, and we'll see you next time. Bye!